Hi, you guys. Welcome back. Welcome for the first time, depending on where you're coming from, to another episode of my podcast. I really love myself, featuring me, your host, Gianna Rackham, who has been doing relationship coaching for 10 years now, which is crazy. And I have a really awesome guest here today who is a friend, but also someone who I really respect just in a lot of ways. I really respect her work. I really respect like her mind and her energy. And we're going to be getting into some really cool stuff around magic and spell work because I know there's all kinds of like crazy stuff out there about like casting spells on your exes and like trust me when I say we've got an expert here today to like break through all the myths and like what's ethical, what's possible, what is not ethical, what is not possible, and we're just gonna dive in. But before we do, my friend Arden, I would love for you to introduce yourself.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Gianna. It is an honor. It's been so lovely getting to know you over the past several years. We've been connected on social media. And thank you, first of all, for all the gorgeous words that you just shared about me. And I wanna also say that the reason I love your work so much, there's so in the same way that there is so much unethical things out there about magic and love spells and everything. There are so many unethical soulmate, twin flame coaches, etc. And I've always loved the integrity that you brought to your work. It's always been about doing that inner work and knowing that your internal programming attracts your external experience. And you and I are similar in that vein of our work. So for anyone who might be listening, my name is Arden Leigh. And I'm the creator and the facilitator of the repatterning project, which is an 8-week course in mental health. And it's about creating a comprehensive understanding of how our patterns, mindsets, and behaviors form based on our experiences, typically when we grow up, but then indeed unfolding throughout the rest of our lives, and how we can just, we're talking about, change that internal wiring in order to change what our external life looks like. And in addition to that, I am a magical practitioner. I am apprentice to occultist and comics writer, actually just writer in general at this point, Grant Morrison, which I'm very proud of that learning relationship that they and I have. And I also sing in my band, Arden and the Wolves, which is also an extension of my magic practice. And yeah, I'm really at the end of the day, I'm just someone who is passionate about mental health, magic, and music, and where those things intersect.
I love it so much. And like, what an eloquent introduction. Like, because I feel like that's something that everybody has to like nail at some point, where it's like being able to articulate like who you are and your work, because it can feel so like abstract sometimes. And I just was like, damn, like like as a business owner, like no notes.
Oh, thank you. You know what's funny? I was thinking about this the other day. When I first created my course, it was like the first time through that I taught it, it just completely flowed. I knew where everything needed to be and which of the, 8 lectures that I give across the 8 weeks, and all the information just kind of sorted itself in this beautiful way. Being able to talk about it and write copy for my website took me another 3 years. I kept calling it the Tesseract because I was like, I don't know, man. It's like it's this incredibly powerful thing, and I'm not sure exactly what it does or what it is. So
Yeah.
yeah, man, yeah, I feel that being able to summarize what it is that we do is sometimes the hardest part.
Because it's like you can be so good at like facilitation, but like if you can't communicate and translate that to people, then they don't necessarily even come in to begin with, unless they're like kind of those people that trust that like their intuition and their vibe, which I'm kind of that way. I'm like, yeah, but I digress. That was
Yeah.
a side tangent.
No, I feel
Um,
like that's like a very baby coach problem that I also had
mhm.
too. People would be like, "What do you do?" Well, what's your issue? So,
Yeah.
like, I need to know what
I can do
I need a
so
knot to
much.
untangle first, right?
Yeah, yeah, no, exactly. Because like I know for me at the foundation of so much of my relationship work, it's like feminine energy, which to me, healthy feminine encompasses like, self-esteem, self-validation, like a secure attachment style, overcoming like the codependent tendencies that like fuel our relationship choices and like childhood trauma and all of that and like wounds. And but it's like that stuff, over the years I'm like, but that also plays out in your professional life and like you can also have an anxious relationship with clients. Like it can be just a lot.
100%.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, the
Um
way we do one thing is the way we do everything, right?
yeah, yeah, that's so true. Um Okay, so let's dive in. And like some of my questions at first, I feel are going to be maybe a little rudimentary in a way around spell work. I will say, like, I'm not a complete noob with this stuff. Like, I was raised in a bit of it, like, and this is a whole other story, but like my mom, who's a psychic medium, was definitely the mom who a couple of times when me or my siblings were severely bullied, whipped out a cauldron and like whipped out a book and was speaking in tongues. So,
Wow.
yeah, people were scared of me. It got around school. So like,
That's one way to do it,
I
right?
know she was small, but she was witchy and scary. But yeah, so like, but I'm at first, I kind of want to ask a bit like rudimentary questions so people can really kind of join in on the conversation and get it. And then I feel like as we
Of
progress,
course.
it'll get more nuanced and juicy. But
Yeah,
um,
absolutely. Establish that foundation for sure.
yeah. So I feel like everybody knows what an Etsy witch is now. Yeah,
I
yeah.
just watched a reel where a girl was talking about like I spent $200 on Etsy, which is like literally less than an hour ago because my friend posted it.
Yep, yep. So if you don't know what an Etsy witch is, it's like basically you can go on Etsy and like find a like a magic practitioner, like someone who does spell work, and you can hire them to do spell work for you around certain things. And it's like, I don't know if this is just my FYP, like on TikTok, but like I see so much stuff about how people try to do spell work like on their exes and stuff. And like that just icks me out so bad, when I see stuff like that. And so there's definitely like I've heard of spell work around, it's like you can do like hexes, you can do curses, like you can do like glamour magic, which is really about like, making yourself like beautiful basically and magnetic. I mean, you'd probably be able to sum it up better than I could, but mm, again, my
About changing the
rudimentary.
appearance of anything. Like you
Okay.
can actually do glamour magic that's to obfuscate something or even like you can do an anti-glamour, which is like to make something ugly. So, but anything where you're
Oh,
changing how someone views something.
shit. That's
Yeah.
crazy. Okay, okay. So, glamour magic, I know you can do like protection stuff. You can do like all kinds of things, like money, like abundance, career. Um, I know I had, and this is just like a total traumatic, like, and I say traumatic side note in a silly way because we're all good here, but um, I definitely did put one of my mom's exes um who has like some mental health stuff and has done has displayed like unpredictable and violent behavior, who had a like delusion that we were in love. I definitely put his name in a jar in the freezer.
Smart.
Yeah. So
Smart.
yeah. So if you
Shut that down.
yeah, yeah. So, which is like a very common like protection thing, like freeze their like bad like juju towards you basically, and they're like, um, so that's a thing. But I'm really curious of like your take on just like the different kinds of, because you do spell work yourself, but also for other people, right?
I actually do not do spell work for hire, but
Okay,
I
okay,
do spellcraft consultations. So if a
okay.
person comes to me, like I will tell them everything that they need to do to craft that spell. I have
Ooh,
been considering lately um, the idea of offering spell work for repatterning only.
ooh. See, ethical
Be-
and magical.
Yeah, because it turns out also that I'm good at that.
Mm-hmm.
And because you really have to know the landscape of where the pattern is. You have to be able to, I mean, you don't necessarily have to in order to get that spell work kind of started, but the more you understand the terrain of neurodevelopment, like the easier it's like, you have to sort of know the map. So I've been considering that maybe this will be a push, but
Mm-hmm.
I probably will introduce that at least, if not keep it at being something that is exclusive to course graduates only. So,
Ooh, okay.
so right now also even my regular sessions are only open to graduates of the repatterning project. Like I will sometimes do flash sales to the public. But energetically, just having my books open in general does not feel like the right choice for me at the moment.
I
So
love that.
yeah, so because it's just so much easier because it's like once you have the repatterning project is basically the map. When I talk about like understanding the map, it's basically the full download of what I understand about neurodevelopment, how our patterns form, et cetera. And so the idea is that when a person goes through the course, by the end of the course, they should be able to DIY it on themselves. They can also come to me for facilitation around like, oh, this one's particularly stuck, I need some extra help with this. And that's great because I love doing that work too. But I so would rather empower the client to be like, now you know what's going on. You can work with me, you can work with someone else, you can DIY this, you can do magic on this yourself, whatever that is. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm considering doing spell work along those lines. But I haven't announced that publicly or anything. This is my first time talking about it, so I don't know, maybe.
We got the tea. We got the
But I
tea.
know I got off track with that, but sorry.
No, that's great. I love that. I'm so here for it. Okay. So yeah, in terms of like what would you say like is the most common magic that people practice in your experience? Like what kind of spell work people do?
Oh gosh. That's so hard to say because I feel like my my social circles are not like they might be a bit of a faulty litmus test because I'm around a lot of occultists. So
Hmm.
we're always geeking out about magic. And a lot of my friends are people who do magic for magic's sake.
Mm,
Um, where it's like the goal is to train and to be powerful in magic. And for me, there is an element of that, but for me, it was much more around using magic to align and really find and live my purpose and to be able to create the life that I want. And the magic itself is a part of that, but the goal is really like creating the life that I want and living my
yeah.
purpose. So it's hard for me to say what is the most popular kind because I think also you have people who get into magic as beginners and most of us suck at it at the very beginning. Not only just like, oh, we're not getting results, but we are casting for all the wrong stuff.
Yeah.
This is where like your very naive kind of love spells come in, where people come in and they're like, I want to cast an obsession spell on my ex or whatever. And
Ugh.
it's like, okay, now they're obsessed with you, but they still don't know how to treat you well. All the same relationship problems are still there. In fact, they're probably amplified because now that person has even more feelings toward you. Like this did not solve any of your problems. And so
Hmm.
then, you get to a point where hopefully you start casting for things that are more going to bring you what's in alignment with you. And I say that knowing that like the people who are starting out like that are like, oh, what's in alignment for me is boring. I don't want my highest good. I want that guy or like whatever that is. But you learn, I think, over the course of your sort of awakening, where well, ideally anyway you should like where your heart is really being called to and then using magic to put the foundations under that. So but
Hmm.
there are people who use magic for business. There are people who use magic, certainly protection. If you're going to be doing any kind of magic regularly, you need to be doing protection and spiritual hygiene, just like full stop. So that,
Hmm.
like, if you're going to do any magic, like, make sure that is a part of, like, at least your monthly regimen, doing a
Yeah.
protection spell, reversal on anything that gets sent to you, something along those lines. Yeah. So Gosh, yeah, it could really be anything. I would almost say like some of the least popular magic is the magic you actually do on yourself to heal because nobody wants that, right?
Yeah,
But that
everybody
is
wants,
that is
yeah.
the best kind of magic because then once you are in alignment, you can create anything you want from there because you've gotten rid of most of your self-sabotage drivers.
Yeah, I love that so much. And like that's why, again, like you're just proving exactly what I said as we started this episode. Like the ethical element that you have, like when it comes to like magic is so important because it's like one thing that I really, really believe is like what you seek is seeking you. Like your desires are their own consciousness that are trying to manifest through you. And so like when you actually are connected in alignment with your authentic self beyond like low self-esteem, beyond like childhood wounds, it's like you only want what's correct for you. And it's like when you're obsessed with your ex who's like maybe so not the person for you, who's like maybe has narcissistic tendencies or emotionally avoidant traits. And there's nuance, of course. But it's like someone who truly, let's just say, is not the person for you, but like, and if you were actually coming from like a healthy place within yourself, you would not even be interested. But like you've been, like you have, there, like there's been a trauma bond that's been created where it's like they've activated your insecurities and like breadcrumbed you and like intermittently reinforced things to make you feel obsessed, right? And then it's like you think that this person and having them be obsessed with you is going to like solve all your problems. But in fact, it's actually like one of those things usually where it ends very, very badly because it's like, careful what you wish for. It's like, there's like this saying where it's like the devil's, like that was a gift from the devil, you know what I mean? So to speak. And however we feel about the devil, I'm just saying like metaphorically.
Yeah.
But
I
um,
get it.
it's like, you know, do you really want like 'cause keeping somebody or something in your life that's truly not for you, it actually requires such a like an unhealthy way to live that like drains you of your energy, of your joy, of like your confidence, and like this can affect like your income, your health, like your physical health, your mental health, your other relationships that matter to you. So it's like if you really are so fixated on someone that you're willing to like cast a spell on them like that, like that, ooh, ew, like
Yeah.
making noises for the people that are just listening to audio because like that's not gonna, like that is such a bad call. Like I don't know what else to say. That's just a bad call in my opinion. But
Yeah. The longer
um
you spend on the train going in the wrong direction, like the longer it takes you to get back. Right.
preach. And like sometimes we have to dabble off the energetic path to really get more clear and to like, sometimes we have to run into a few trees, so to speak, and like to get back on track. And I get that, and, empathy and compassion to ourselves and others and that. But it's like when you are doing it like knowingly to the point where it's like you're trying to mess with someone else's like free will essentially a little bit, right? Like because I have so many thoughts, but I'm curious, like in general, do you think like love spells, obsession spells, like things like that, do you think that that can like truly influence someone's free will? And like if so, like to what extent? Like is it just like a mosquito like in their mind that introduces something, or is it something that like completely hijacks them? And can that happen if they have like energetic hygiene or like are so committed to their own alignment?
Yeah. Both and everything in between.
Okay.
It depends how skilled the magician is and how much work they are willing to put into it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I have heard stories from my colleagues where they were like, this there is tech that exists that is terrifying and I won't teach it to people. I'm terrified of it. I've the fact that I even know it, I put it in a box and locked it away because it's um
Yeah.
most people are not going to come across that kind of power. But I'm not saying that it doesn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
I think the more that we I think the more that we're realistic about what's out there, the better we can protect ourselves from it. So I'm not going to sugarcoat that. At the
Mm-hmm.
same time, like for your average Etsy witch, it also depends on like the strength and vulnerability of the target. Are they someone who
Oof.
has, like inroads? Did they have traumas? Did they have hooks that can, it depends on also like the attractiveness of the person casting. You can cast for like a pull, but if you're looking at that person and you're like, this is not my type at all, or this is like it would take a lot of magic to get a person to to fall for someone who is
Fascinating.
so far outside their zone of what they're attracted to. So it's all of these factors combined to make that. But yeah, it's creepy and it's non-consensual. I think what we have to realize, like the history of this, and I'm not condoning love spells for this, but I'm giving it context, right?
Yeah.
It's only like really within the last century that we're able to like choose our partners and be like with people out of love, right? Like out of
Mm-hmm.
actual love. So you're looking at a lot of love spells that historically, let's say you were a woman living in, like 1600s, medieval Europe or whatever, and you didn't really have a say in who married you. And you needed him to not domestically abuse you. So you would do a love spell, right? Or you would do like a
Arsenic?
domination
No.
spell. Well, yeah, that and that
I,
too. Like aqua tofana apparently was like the perfume that this one woman alchemist sold that was like, oh, aqua tofana, all the women are wearing it, but secretly it was poison, and they would like
mm-hmm.
poison their abusive husbands. And
Mm-hmm.
so this is all like
Yeah.
and similarly too, let's say there was, let's say it's the opposite and you don't have access to a global community, like the internet is a very recent thing, right? And so maybe you're a guy and there's, only one young woman in your village who like has all her teeth or whatever, and you're like, no, I'm gonna get that one, right? And
Mm-hmm.
that's a lot of what happened. Like we have to remember, I think, that our history is full of so like consent is a relatively recent concept when you really zoom out on everything. And
Yeah.
like and even like consent to marry, right? This was the whole thing. Oh, I'm gonna have this, this marriage between these two families for this political alliance or something, right? And so
Yeah.
magic was used historically to like for all kinds of things. So it's obviously a different context when we have the freedom to move about and to support ourselves. It's like nowadays it's any illusions that we have that we cannot find the love that wants us back are kind of shattered by the reality of the fact that we do live in a world with 8 billion people and we can access people from all over the planet. My
Mm-hmm.
last partner, and this was several years ago, but my last partner was absolutely brought to me through magical means. I did not cast a love spell specifically, but I opened myself up in certain ways and said like I'm ready for certain things, and some of my spirits brought me this partner, and he was living in Italy at the time, or he was born and raised in Italy, so there
Wow.
was no like, and we met because one of his dance videos went viral, and I ended up sending him a friend request, and and I was up at some crazy hour or something like that when he actually like accepted the request. And since I saw the notification come up, I was just like, hey, thanks for accepting my friend request. Like I liked your video or whatever. And we ended up dating
Mm-hmm.
for almost a year. So like
Yeah.
there's no reason nowadays that people can't find what they want, but we have to remember, and like this because you work, with understandings of trauma and how it patterns the body. We have cultural and generational trauma too. So I
Mm-hmm.
look at a woman doing a love spell, and part of me is like, your body has not forgotten the lineage, of what you may like of having the scarcity that you may have had if you had, that all your ancestors had.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but you maybe need to wake up and realize that you're living in a different world now.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you said so much that is just fascinating and like beautiful. And like I I really relate to, for me, like anytime I've gotten into a relationship with someone, I've like manifested them on purpose, but it was like it wasn't, so maybe like similar in the sense where I didn't necessarily like have like tools or like candles or whatever, but like I really worked on being so connected to like myself and like what I was really wanting and being the match for it and like emitting that frequency with intention and like really following the impulse of where that led me and being open when it guided me to be open. And like, and every time that's led to me getting like exactly what I wanted, like in a partner. And um, but one thing that I will say is like I think that like the same people who would maybe use love spells to like try to control or manipulate are the same people who would maybe also be attracted to like like normal means, like non-metaphysical means of like manipulation as well, where it's like,
Absolutely.
you know, the people who are narcissistic or like, very insecure and like want to manipulate and believe, like see like dating and relationships as like power games and like, where they're out to just like try and control. And I feel like, because I feel like this episode might freak some people out, but I want to say that it's like, in general, there are people, unfortunately, in the world, and I believe that we can like set our energy to be really receptive to like good people as much as possible. But honestly, I feel like personally, and maybe this is just my experience because I really love connecting with people. I love putting myself out there like online and like I'm a very social person. And I just feel like even if you're mostly in alignment with really good people and you're in integrity, there's still going to be some weirdos and like there's still going to be some people who don't have good intentions. There's still going to be people who are like jealous of you, who hate on you, who wish you were with them, who wish you would have sex with them, right? And like that to me was almost like a little bit of a rude awakening at one point, like a couple years ago, like where in my and ever since like I got more mindful of like energetic hygiene, but also like emotional hygiene as well. Like, I mean, I've always kind of been mindful of that, but like really understanding that it's like there are people out there who like do want to manipulate you sometimes. And like, like for instance, I remember, and this was like one of the things that I was like, oh shit, like be mindful of people sometimes because there was this woman in my last relationship and like I think you probably maybe you know this because I shared about it online, but in my last relationship when we were like 6 or 7 years into the relationship, he had an ex because he was very like a very open-hearted person who really was just like he truly was someone who could like be friends with his exes and like it wasn't weird, but like just because he wasn't weird doesn't mean that they weren't maybe weird, but he like had this one ex who for some reason like I had no idea was very like triggered by me and my sister and like she was a like an aspiring therapist. Like she was technically like board certified and all of that and attempting to get clients, but really struggling. And
I have
she,
thoughts about most therapists.
yeah, yeah. And she actually created like some fake accounts, like Finstas. And I don't completely ignore Finstas because I've had like my work is very private and intimate. And so it's like I've had very like high achieving, successful women like inquire to work with me off of like their Finstas, right? Where it's like,
Mhm.
they have because they want like that privacy and they don't want like to be seen engaging with like my content from their main account just because of like their career stuff it would complicate it or like relationship stuff complicate it whatever.
Totally.
So this woman was like reaching out to me like inquiring to work with me like before like in the evening and I woke up to like her flooding my comments like just saying that like just this deplorable stuff about me. And then she also went and said some things to my sister that were just honestly like very disgusting about like certain mental health things that she like learned through my ex like with her partner and like threw that in her face in a really like disgusting way. And I was
Mm.
like man, like this woman this whole time, like when I'm just literally running this business, like with my heart, like trying to create a good life for myself and like, being so like putting so much energy into just like being in integrity and keeping my heart pure and like you're really trying to help people and like make the world a better place and like being a girl's girl and like believing in collaboration. And this woman this whole time was watching that, just like fuming so much that she wanted to create like a fake account and harass me and like try and mess with my business, try and mess with my sister. And that was being focused on me. And I had no idea. You know what I mean? Like this, like that evil eye energy, and it's like, I've come to learn, and it's been such an like it was such an awakening that like I was like, oh, like even though there's a lot of people who are watching me and following me that really love me and that like are on the edge of hiring me or they are clients and like, there's also there's men who watch who like are just like honestly like jerking off to my content. Like that's a real thing. Um and
Absolutely, it is.
yep, and I had no idea. And then so it's like that energy is coming at you a bit. And then it's like and then there's women who are like who admire you, who respect you, who love you, who support you. And then there's also like the, you know, for lack of a better way to put it, like people who are like exes of your ex that are like a little kooky, a little cuckoo, and
Yep.
just like taking it out on you. And so like that energy, like I just think in general, like even if you're not aware of like magic or energy, it's like when you're a sensitive person who like has their heart open, it's like you can kind of feel that. Like you can kind of feel like, and it just feels bad when it's like somebody's wishing for your downfall when it's for no fucking reason, or like, someone's wishing for the downfall of your relationship. Somebody's like putting this negative energy onto you, like that's like their own intention. And so it's like if you're not connected to yourself, like whether it's through like energetic hygiene, but like, and I think that that's a really valuable way to like do it. But it's like, if you're not having like an emotional hygiene practice, like that stuff can really start to like cloud your like frequency a bit, I feel like. But
Yeah.
I mean, I'm
You know what I've
curious.
started doing for the last like three,
Yeah.
4 months or so, and
Okay.
I highly recommend it. It's not for the faint of heart, but it will clarify things.
Hmm.
Once a month, I do a reveal my enemies to me spell.
Oh
Reveal
my
my enemies to me
God.
so that I can deal with them accordingly.
Oh my God.
And
I
let
might
me
need
tell
to know
you,
this.
the amount of like people who have spoken in ways that have revealed their intentions, or some of my friends saying like some of my more like advanced occultist friends will come to me and be like, oh, I had a dream about you and this person, let's divine on it, see if there was something. Oh yeah, shit, this person's going to do XYZ or whatever. And I've also started having stuff come to me in dreams too. I actually realized that there was a person who was casting a compulsory love spell on me because of my reveal my enemies to me spell.
Oh my, oh
So
my.
and so also like another reason not to do love spells on people, like don't do magic on people without telling them, but like especially don't do it to someone who's an occultist, because this is, you get to a point in your magic practice, if you are dedicated enough in doing it, where you will be able to see what other people are doing.
Mm-hmm.
There, you know, one of my best friends, Alexander Moore of Practical Occult, is really, really good at seeing this. And
Mm-hmm.
it's been some of his guidance and teachings that have helped me to get better at it as well. But there would be people where, you know, I'll go to him and he'll be like, "Oh, did you hear that new like did you see the new music video from such and such a band? There is spell work in that to like glamour or obfuscate something that they don't want found out," or like something like that. Like things like
Holy
you see it like that,
that's
right?
so good. Yeah.
It's nuts, man. So you really like, that's a whole other level, is that you can be out there casting spells as an amateur or whatever, but you get to a certain point and you're like, I actually, if I am among people who are my peers, I can no longer cast spells without being seen.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you're like, I need to cast more layers of spell work to glamour the spells. But then it's like, then it becomes just like, how advanced am I versus the person who's looking? Because some, you know, I've my buddy Alex, once again, like has been able to see through, like, oh, that's interesting. This work was glamored as this thing. I saw this thing first, but if you go further, actually the person who's casting is not a redheaded woman living in, it's a guy who's living in such and such or whatever. And it's
Wow.
nuts. It's like man, like the
That's
more
skill.
magic I do, the more complicated it gets. But I mean, I wouldn't trade
Yeah.
it. It engages the dopamine, gives me lots of reasons to live.
Oh my God, I totally get it. Because, like, the thing that's funny, because, like, you know, like, you know this about me, but, like, I was raised by, like, a psychic medium. And so I was taught to be really in touch with, like, my gifts. And so, like, I'm very, like, clairvoyant and, like, like, I'm very good at, like, reading and interpreting energy. And, like, I can also be, like, clairaudient at times. Um, and something that like I have always been able to do is like I like this is gonna sound like whatever. And this is and I'm gonna have to do a little disclaimer here because this is not something that a lot of people like you have to actually like kind of train this muscle because otherwise it's teetering into like delusion and like
Totally.
borderline and like spiritual psychosis where it's like you are making things up and like projecting it. Um and so it's like it
Always
takes
have your work checked by a second opinion if
yeah,
it's important.
if
Like
it
go to an outside
yeah.
diviner. Like readers can be wrong about things, but if you see three readers and they're all telling you the same common denominators, you can be pretty
I
sure.
mean, and thank you for clarifying that because I think that there's because it's like we're having a like a bit of a metaphysically advanced conversation compared for most people. And so it's like that nuance is really, really important. Like I remember thinking about this when we were talking, when we were like hanging out in LA, like when I was there. And I was like,
That's
damn,
so
like
fun.
I'm like, I just love I was like the layers that we're going into right now, like most people would it would be like we were speaking like Chinese around English speakers. Like they would just would
Yeah,
be like, what? And like something that I've always been able to do is like I can tell like I do pick up on certain things and I do like read things and whatever. Like sometimes I get it through dreams, but it's like I can feel when somebody is focusing energy on me and intention on me and like whether it is positive or negative and like a lot of the times I can feel like if there's somebody that I've like met or like known, I can feel when they're focusing energy about like wanting to work with me, for instance. Like I literally feel them in my field and I see them in my mind's eye. And I just
nice.
like I don't do anything with it, but like I'm like, oh, like hi, and I maybe like blow them a little energy kiss or something, but it's like, I can feel what they're thinking as they're like in my field sometimes. And like I've had that with exes before too, where it's like I will I'll be thinking about someone or like a client of mine or like an ex will like pop in my head or and I'll like smell them and like feel something like that they're thinking about like that they are remembering something about our relationship and then like sometimes it's like I'll hear from them and then they'll be sending me a message like describing that thing or like the that's happened to me like many times or like a client who's inquiring about working with me like then it's like an hour later they'll be in my inbox like telling me exactly what I was feeling randomly that came to me. And so it's like that like when you are like energetically aware, psychically in touch, like metaphysically in the know, like people cannot get because people cannot fuck with you. And like one thing I will say is somebody was kept doing mental health check-ins for me. Like, how you can say like, oh, this person needs help on Facebook.
Oh, on Facebook. I'm one
Yeah.
of those too.
Yeah.
And I know, why did they do this? I know who it was. Come on.
Yeah. It was so funny, like, because somebody kept doing that to me, and I was like, I feel like they're trying to fuck with me, but like, I would just transmute the energy. Like, I was like, they're bringing me energy because they're like triggered by me in some way. I'm gonna like, like, I would just like naturally like transmute it really quickly to benefit me. So I'm like, if you're sending me energy, I'm gonna use it. Like, thank you. And but I was like, I really wonder who this is, and I just like. I took the time to just like tune into it, like energetically and like psychically. And this old childhood friend came into my mind.
Wow.
And it was like the next day, like after I'd gotten one, again, he DM'd me like in the middle of the night, which he was like, would drink a lot and he would like stay up late and whatever. And I felt like what he was doing is he was like getting drunk and like being alone and then like scrolling and then um and like I wasn't friends with him anymore because he just got very destructive, unfortunately. But
Mm,
like and then it's like he would be feeling something and then just report like me for like mental health stuff, right?
yeah.
And I blocked him. Like as soon as I realized, I was like, I feel like it's him. I blocked him and I haven't gotten one since.
Yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I had a former client, not from any of my repatterning project work, but I used to be a pro dom, a professional dominatrix, like in my early 20s, right out of college when I was young. And and there was a, and it was funny, he wasn't even my client. He was
hmm
actually a client of someone else at the house. But and this maybe this actually this might have been around the time when I started casting my reveal my enemy. I wonder if it was a direct result of that or not. But regardless, there were like a few anonymous accounts that were sending these very like obviously harassing messages and trying to make
hmm
it like, oh, you're a scammer, she's a fraud and a grifter and all this like, and you're faking your autism diagnosis and like all this crazy and then there would be stuff about my looks too or whatever like you look like a corpse. I'm like, thank you, I am goth, I appreciate that. Like what even
Why,
is this?
thank you.
And finally, like, I came across this Twitter account that was tagging me, like tagging me and also tagging like Doge and the FBI, saying that like, she's a manipulative scammer. You should come arrest her. Like it was very, and it was an anonymous account that was posting their AI furry MILF tune art. Like,
Very
like
specific.
Yeah, it was AI furry MILF cartoon porn.
hmm
And they said something in there about me that was enough of a clue that I was like, oh, this happened over a decade ago. It was like this one like random, but I was like, I know who that is. And it was this, it was this former guy. So I wrote to him on, because I knew his main Facebook account. And I was just like, hey, I just want to let you know that I know you've been sending me harassing messages. And I'm really confused by this because we don't have any kind of a personal relationship. You've never even been a client of mine. So I find these accusations really, really confusing that you're calling me a scammer and a grifter when we've never had even a single business transaction. And I said, I hope you're okay. Like I hope you get help for whatever is actually bothering you, because either you're scapegoating me for your own personal discontentment, which is not really going to lead you to any actual satisfaction, or it's entirely possible that you're operating off of a mind implant because which like that's a real thing. I've found those in folks. I said, the dom that you used to see at the house where I worked was no fan of mine, so it's entirely possible that in those sessions that you had that she conditioned you to attack me. I gave the dude an out, right? But I also cast a spell to expose his furry MILF tune porn art to everyone in his, in his social circle. Like you don't get to say this about me, like with anonymity and whatever. But then I went to my colleague to divine on it, and I was like, so what happened? Did my spell work? And he was like, yeah, it did. But oddly enough, he actually like ends up standing by it, and he ends up meeting a partner who's also into the same thing. So he's like, you kind of did him a favor. I'm like, this is how like I'm so justice oriented that like my hex work ends even my hex work ends up being like stuff that catalyzes people into their personal growth apparently. So yeah, like
hmm
you can divine on your stalkers. You can find it like this is,
hmm
you can't like it takes time. This I certainly couldn't do this when I started out. This is actually something I would say has only really been crystallizing in me as a skill set in this last year, but it's possible.
You
I just
know,
I don't recommend messing with people,
yeah, yeah, seriously. It's like, because I mean, it's not just like with magic and spell work. It's like it's the same way that you would be with people, and it's like I feel like people think that, whether it's like with spell work or like like a fake profile, it's like you think you can like just get away with it, but like the something that I really believe, and this is and actually a magic practice my mom would do that was like, I guess would maybe be considered hex work, but like my mom would call it dropping a house on people. And she, to like Wizard of Oz reference, right? Like drop a
Yeah.
house on the witch kind of thing. And um and like the thing about it is that her thing was like I'm bringing your karma to you faster and quicker based because of what you did. Like it's like your consequences are sped up kind of thing. And so like I feel like
That's a
regardless,
good, like, that's really, really, that's a good way. Except if someone is obsessively stalking you, you don't want to speed that up necessarily because that could be dangerous. But that,
yeah.
otherwise, like, yeah, speed them up to, yep, bring everything up to the surface. Yeah, that is absolutely, that's the way to go, in my
Yeah.
humble opinion.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's really really good and like my mom would do that to like bullies of ours growing up. And like because but like at the same time, I will say though, like so me and my twin sister, like we lived in Iowa, right? Like and this was before spirituality was as popular as it's gotten to be. And, we were twins and like we were known around town like as the psychic twins. And like, we have, if you know anything about like astrology, like we both have Lilith in the first house. So like
Mm,
Lilith in the first house is like people either like love you or hate you. I'm also a 5 line in human design. So it's like people pedestal you or like hate your fucking guts. And like they might go back and forth. And like, that has always been true where it's like people like I've been a source of like projection for people like before, and so to me I'm very much like I my intentions are good, like I'm kind to people, and like I really really believe in like being the person who like smiles at people, holds the door, who's like compassionate when someone's clearly having a bad day, you don't know what they're going through, but like if someone for some reason like thinks that they can just like keep doing some shit to me because they just like I'm small, I'm blonde, I'm sweet, I whatever, like absolutely not. Absolutely not. But like and so with that said, it's like something that I've always really believed. And I also believe in like energetics of like manifestation where it's like again like what you seek is seeking you and you're kind of co-creating with with the universe. And so it's like you have your desires that you're manifesting and you also have things that like the universe has planned for you that you don't necessarily have in your full conscious awareness that has to do with like what your soul wanted coming into this lifetime. And so certain things and people will be put on your path that can maybe like push you in that direction or like bring out that desire or expose you to new things. And sometimes it can be through like positive or negative experiences. And so all that to say, it's like my personal uh for I can't think of the word, but like my personal like belief basically has always just been to like stay in alignment with myself and know that like when other people are act out of alignment with me, there's like a karma in it's like in that in itself because it's like if you're operating out of like envy, out of jealousy, out of insecurity, out of like, you know, whatever it is, like I also believe like I'm so blessed and the universe loves me and like I have a really strong energy that I've cultivated. Like my aura is very grounded and like people can't tug on that very easily. And so it's like when people try, it's like they're kind of like met with their own shit pretty quickly.
yeah.
Um and, and it's like if you're trying to like hate on me instead of like create a better life for yourself, like you're gonna suffer naturally. And like maybe there's a bit of a spell in that I'm like have in my energy field, but like yeah, I don't know. I just think people really do like defeat themselves a lot.
It's huge. Yeah. I actually made a video and I think it was like over a year ago. The title of it, it's on my YouTube. It's called Why Repatterning is Critical for Occultists. And because there's so many people who get into magic and they immediately just want more power to force the world into the shape that they want it. And I'm not saying that there are not circumstances in which it's good to use magic to punch the world until it breaks and gives you what you want. A lot of justice work has to look like that because there's a lot of oppressive systems. But
Mhm.
if the thing that you're do like what repatterning does, right? What really doing the inner work for inner alignment does is it will help you to aim your energy at the things that will actually get you the life that you want. Because if you are in your trauma imprints and you are acting out of that same sense of unworthiness or scarcity or whatever you have, that jealousy, whatever that is that's eating at you, by learning magic, you may simply be taking that energy that you're sending in this wrong direction and just amplifying it, and just putting 10 times the power behind getting you something that ultimately isn't going to make you happy. And I have heard stories of people doing love spells on celebrities, I have, and maybe even like succeeding a tiny bit, but then like
What?
they're, yeah,
That's
and
crazy. Terrifying a little.
it absolutely is, right? But that's someone who, would have had to put a lot of training in to get over, like to get, because just being like a celebrity or a billionaire or whatever is in some ways its own form of protection, because folks are just in a whole different mindset. It's almost like people throwing at them can't reach them very well. So for something like that, it would have to be kind of an entire campaign. But there are people who are sitting around who, are that's that's like what they've decided to do with their time, because they are operating from a place of wounding or from a place of needing to prove something about themselves or whatever that looks like. And so, yeah, it's entirely possible to be a successful magician and be doing all the wrong kinds of magic to make you happy.
Yeah. Damn. I mean, like, that's there's so much that you said. Like, I'm just like mind blown at like on one level, and on another level, I'm like, but like the celebrity thing, okay, like that. I feel like there's a reason why people are like scared to be visible and like famous, because it's like, you know, I'm so curious about like what can people do, celebrity or not, to protect themselves from other people's like magic, whether it's like they're actually doing like spell work on you or whether it's like kind of evil eye, like unconscious energy. And also like maybe like secondary question, do you feel like those both have like a similar impact? And I know it's probably varies based on like the factors that you mentioned earlier, but do you feel like when people just project negative energy onto you, it's similar to a level of spell work? And also, how can people protect themselves?
Yeah, it can be. There's, the evil eye, Malocchio, right? It depends on how the factors that go into that are like, first of all, how spiritually powerful is that person? That, how
Me?
big of a, yeah, like how big is their capability of sending energy, whether they're conscious of it or not? How intense is the emotion, and how vulnerable is the target? So all of those things. But yeah, absolutely. You can have a curse that is essentially sent unintentionally just by focusing a lot of really negative energy on a person. I'll give two really great resources for protection magic. One is the protection magic course. I think there's three different levels of it. I think I've just taken the first one of practical occult. Again, that's my buddy Alexander Moore who makes those, and also they're pretty affordable too, if I recall. I think it's only like maybe 50 or 60 a class.
Okay.
And the workshop will give you like you will his stuff is like it'll be an hour-long class, but you will have so much to do that it will
Hmm.
it will keep you very occupied. And then there's a book by Jason Miller called Protection and Reversal Magic. And those are my two go-tos for protection. I can give a couple examples just
Yeah.
just so people have them.
Yeah.
One thing you can do is you can draw the sixth pentacle of Mars. Is it? Yeah, I think it's pretty sure it's sixth. Yeah, sixth of Mars. Um, on a small round craft mirror in red. You want to make sure that the mirror does not catch your reflection when you're doing this, because it's going to, you're creating a protection spell. So you don't want to catch your own face in it. A good hack for that is put on like a skincare face mask and a little pair of sunglasses while you're doing it. And that totally counts.
Yeah.
And then take
Okay.
that and hang it in your window facing outward. And once a month, just give it a little bit of protection oil and just like say, thank you and keep protecting me, please. So that's one. You can do the same thing with like a set of iron keys also. And again, re-up it every month, give it a little oil or a little incense, and, just say, thank you for protecting me, recharge it, whatever you're going to do. There's also, once a month, I do just a flat out harm reversal, just anything that anyone is sending me intentionally or unintentionally, just, bounce it back. I don't want it. You can also do a
Yeah.
spell to transmute it too. So there's work that you can essentially do to gather that energy and say, I take all of the hate that has been thrown at me and I transmute it toward my good. I'm going to take, I know someone who has done some of that regarding like a community that was being attacked. I'm going to take this energy of attack and I'm going to actually transmute it to uplift the community. And some of the attacks just ended up like driving more people to like to their work or, or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. Like, oh, why are you attacking this person? They're actually really cool or whatever. So all of those are ideas for stuff you can do.
I love that so much, so much. And thank you for sharing that because that's going to be really, really valuable for people. You know, gosh, I will say, like, I definitely have a lot of I'm gonna have to show it to you at some point, like maybe after we're done. But like I have this like my mom sent me this whole like all these crystals and things. And like my apartment is very like protection, like there's a lot of like protection stuff in my apartment. I have this like one like black gray dragon's head like in the main window of my apartment. And it's like this
Nice.
like it's like this like scary little gargoyle thing that's like and I'm like
You
I
could
feel
put a
like
spirit in him.
oh, okay. I
You
love
could
that
attract a
idea.
protection spirit or create a protection servitor and
Ooh,
yeah,
okay. You're
put him
like
in, put him in the dragon.
giving me ideas. I also have like a pink lion's head in my office window because it's like similar vibe. I don't know, like, but not as
Nice.
scary. It's like I'm cute, but I will suck you up.
That's very you.
Yeah, gotta have it in my office. But there was
I
something
feel
I
like
was.
we should talk about like the kinds of love magic that you should do.
Yeah,
We've spent a lot of
yeah,
time
yeah,
talking about like
yeah,
why not to cast like,
yeah,
non-consensual compulsory love magic on people.
yeah,
But
yeah. Let's do
I'd
it.
love to talk about like what people can do.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. So I love a good lover drawing spell, which
Okay.
is basically just like you write down all of the qualities that you want in the person. And you can get picky and selfish about things like if you want them to be a certain level of attractiveness, you want them to make a certain amount of money. Like there's nothing that you can't put in your petition necessarily. And I think it's a
Hmm.
really good exercise for actually sitting down and figuring out what it is that you want. You also want to make sure that your petition includes that they are single and available and like emotionally available as well. And also that there are going to be things that they really like in you. Because I've also seen it happen where someone's lover drawing spell will work and they draw a person and then, they still fumble a bag. Or I've even drawn a person who fumbled me as well, right? I'm like, I was not specific enough, or whatever. So and what I would recommend to folks who are really like lovelorn. And I say that with no, trace of shame or anything, because we are living in a time like with all of the oppressive systems that are upon us, right? And with the amount of disconnection that we feel from one another, and with how just honestly like just kind of messed up emotionally we are as a collective right now. It's just
Hmm.
this is what's happening, especially in America with everything that's going on, so much dysregulation, and so one message that one of my colleagues got from their spirits recently is like, because of the internet, never has there been a time in history when ideal fairy tale relationships have been put in front of our faces so much. Like usually again, settling was what you did. If you know, most of the time you got married to someone who wasn't even your own choice or whatever, and or you just had like the best person in the village, and that was great, right? But now you can compare like to everyone else, and so there's, you know, all these sort of vibes of discontentment. And never, I think, has there been a time when people are more, you know, dissatisfied and in some ways perhaps less willing to work on themselves because of frankly low bandwidth, because we are in a system that is oppressive, economically being one of those things, right? Keeping us in those sort of survival loops and things, which means that it takes bandwidth and time to even do the inner work. Even being able to do the inner work is a privilege. So we have a lot of discontentment, and more than ever before, these fairy tale relationships of, you know, celebrities or even coaches or whoever that are held up in front of us. And so there's more and more discontent and dissatisfaction and envy that is being bred. So for someone who is really feeling that and is really in a lot of pain and is like, when am I going to find my person? What I would recommend is, you know, write down all of those things that you want and launch that petition with a pink candle every Friday and just flood yourself with options, you know, to get rid of that scarcity. When you start, you know, and it might not happen right away. The other thing too is that when, you know, when we did live in smaller towns and societies and international travel was not such a thing, there were fewer options to choose from, so it could happen faster. Now,
Hmm.
Spirit might be like, oh, I have someone who is a perfect match for you, but he's in Italy. I have to show him to you via his viral
Viral
dance video.
video.
And then it's,
Yep.
you
Yep.
know, or it's like, oh, you know, one of my colleagues who does do spell work professionally told me about a lover drawing he once did for a woman who really wanted a partner. She was lesbian, and she really wanted a partner who was like, you know, really like Wonder Woman, Amazon kind of built or whatever. And it'd
Hmm.
been like a year, and she was like, "Your spell didn't work for me, man. What's going on?" They was like, "All right, let's divine on it." And he goes, "Huh." The day after I cast it, a woman across the country woke up and started going to the gym. She's going to be amazing, but she's not what you want yet. Do you want her early? She's not like super buff. She's maybe just regular fit, you know? And she's like, yeah, no, no, I want to see her, right? And then so you're like, all right, well, let's open it up and get right. So do you want this person? There's also the consideration of, you know, I had a colleague divine with me to see about like what was going to happen with a spell that they had cast for a client. And it was like, the girl you want is going to come to you in a year, and she's going to be perfect. You're going to end up getting married. Okay, well, can I speed it up? He wants it a little sooner than that. Oh, okay, you could speed it up and get it down to half the time, but they're not going to get married then because they're not going to be in the right place, right? This is complex. But the lover drawing, what that does for you is it gets you a lot of options. If you cast it continually, it'll get those options drawn to you. And first of all, that's going to put you in a better place because you're not going to feel so like in so much scarcity or so hopeless about it anymore. But it's also
Hmm.
going to, if you word it right, it's going to bring you the people who are right for you. And then, of course, we also have to talk about like doing the inner work and the healing, right? Because I have done unhinged amounts of magic around calling in the love relationship that not only I want, but which I, in my heart, and because of a lot of the signs that I've received, is something that is part of my dharma, something that I'm destined for. None of that magic has been about creating feelings in someone that weren't there. All of that magic has been around healing and opening communication and making it so that there is a foundation where a healthy relationship can even happen. And
Like the
and
opposite of
that's
dropping a house.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Although it's funny sometimes because sometimes the healing actually like manifests in the form of dropping the house, but it's because the any wound that is to be healed needs to be triggered into awareness, you know? So I've
Hmm.
seen where, you know, you can cast a healing spell on someone, you know, have them end this pattern or whatever. And the thing that happens next is they get love bombed. And it's so bad that they never do it again. They're like, whatever that was, I don't ever want to get myself into that situation again. I need to know how I was vulnerable to that because I ended up, you know,
Hmm.
just creating utter destruction in my life. And in the end, the person didn't even really like me, you know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that can happen too. But yeah, I think that is so much what your work is about and so much of what my repatterning work is about. Well, repatterning is, I don't put it out there specifically for love relationships, but you certainly can use it. And that's
Hmm.
originally where that tech kind of came to me from, was because my
Yeah.
intention was to call in, a secure soulmate relationship. And everything that I was shown was like, okay, here's how to fix yourself. Because that's, guess what? You're nowhere near ready for that. And neither is
Hmm.
your soulmate. So yeah, it's the readiness is all, right? As Shakespeare
Hmm.
says. That is so very much key to that. So yeah, I think the two components of healthy love magic are, am I in alignment with the thing that I want? Am I casting for a thing that is actually going to be healthy for me? Do I think that when I hear the word healthy, do I equate that with boring? Because that's an issue. We're going to have to change that. We're going to have to find something that is healthy and exciting and a
Yeah.
way to call in that paradigm. And then are you opening the roads to that happening? Are
Yeah.
are you are you allowing, are you basically saying, all right, bring me people like this? And yeah, that's the way I would go about love
Yeah.
magic.
I mean, I love that so much because it's like it's it's ethical, and it's like you are you're amplifying the good in yourself and the highest good in yourself and for your life, and you're amplifying that for others ultimately. And so it's like you're not doing any of you're not like wasting energy or time like trying to amplify out of somebody or yourself something that's not actually in alignment or something that's not ultimately going to be productive. It's like working with the universe in a way. And like something that I've really come to like connect with in what you're saying is like I feel like that you kind of like made me have this connection with my work while we've been talking is like on even though like I've talked a lot about like manifestation over the years, it's like the anti like codependency work that I've like taught my clients that I embody. It's like it's essentially a way to make yourself, it does make you like spiritually powerful, like in the sense where it's like you're really rooted in your heart and like and what's really right for you and you want what's really right for you. And so like even if like to put it in like more like mainstream terms, like a fuckboy is like trying to like come into your life, or like somebody has like a jealous ex, it's like your frequency is like above it, like you're interacting with like different people. And like when those things do come out, like at like occasionally or whatever, it's like you're very like prepared to handle it and like see the point of it. Because I really believe overall, largely, it's like things are happening like for us to either bring us what we want or to prepare us for what we want. And like anytime someone has been weird to me or like projected something onto me, and I feel like it's only made me more spiritually powerful because it's made me like less afraid to put myself out there like in my career and in life to be able to like do what I need to do in this life. And like in a way like I'm grateful for that. But I feel like if I didn't have like that center, that connection to myself, that ability to like see it that way, like I would not be, you know what I mean? Like it would have all been too much. Um,
Yeah.
so side note, thank you for like that connection.
That, and it makes a person more attractive. And I know you've talked about this in your work as well. I know you've also been transparent with how your trauma healing also healed your relationship with your physical body. And I've had that experience with mine as well. It's like there's no reason why I should be more attractive now than I was when I was 25. Like all of the
Yeah.
myths that we hear as women about like getting older and like losing our value. I don't know if you were, I was in the pickup artist community for a while when I was in my 20s as well. So like
Yep,
I
I'm
heard a lot of those
familiar.
narratives, like
Yeah.
oh, you hit a wall at 35 or whatever. And it's just like there's no biological reason why I should be more attractive now than I was then, but the the responses I get from people, it's just wildly, wildly different because I was wildly codependent in my 20s in ways that I did not understand, in ways that like I was so in a way afraid of being codependent because even that like being codependent would make me unattractive. So therefore I was like hyper independent, but secretly I was like layers and layers of codependency. And and yeah, separating that out and still being able to be very loving and generous and to do the things that I love with the people that I date. You know, I'm someone who loves to spoil people in ways that are honestly sometimes decidedly unfeminine. And I just don't give a fuck if a man is not
Yeah.
like in touch with his own femininity enough to like enjoy that and love that. And like and also to reciprocate it, you know, as
Yeah.
well in whatever ways that is. But being able to remove the sense of like this is what gives me value or this is how I'm going to earn this person's affection. It's remarkable. It's almost unfair in the same way of like it's unfair that like to make money you have to spend money. So therefore people who are born into generational wealth have the ability to make more money than people who are not. It's kind of
Hmm.
unfair that like having more confidence and more internal sovereignty brings you more people who fall for your energy. Like you
Yeah.
have like that's what's so hard about it is when you're stuck in those cycles, you kind of have to start creating that out of nothing,
Yeah.
which is like what the repatterning project is so much about, you know, and I
Yeah.
think like what a lot of your work is about too. How do you find that frequency when you want love so badly and you're like, why don't I just deserve this without having to do all this fucking work, you know?
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
that was so me. I was so there. It was so hard. It was like such a, not like that's the kicker is it really like even admitting you have to do the work like takes a toll on your worthiness. I'm like, why am
Hmm.
I have to work on being worthy? I'm not worthy of being like what I'm unworthy or whatever. And it's
Yeah.
like, but it's all just about, you know, what you're gonna put up with and what you're gonna
Hmm.
and you what you're attracted to changes organically. You get to a point where
Yeah.
you're like, I got to a point where I was bored, you know, of being heard. Because I used to be like, oh, I have such longing, intermittent reinforcement, you know, what can I, this is so interesting. Give me a puzzle to solve, you know, which
Hmm.
obviously I still like solving puzzles quite a bit. But
Yeah.
changing that narrative and being like, no, any dude can come over and fuck me and raid my fridge and then break my heart the next week. I've
Yeah.
done that. I've seen
Yeah.
that. What does the other thing look like? This is interesting to me. This is juicy.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's, I think, how we start changing those narratives. So,
Yeah.
yeah, man, it's an inside job, right?
Totally. I mean, yeah, it really is. And like, I, I love what you said about how that's not interesting anymore. Because it's like, it's so true. Like we do have to like retrain our brains and our bodies a bit and like repattern, right? And so it's so true. And yeah, I mean, there's like so much that I feel like I want to like talk to you about, and so we're definitely gonna have to like we're definitely gonna have to do this again because I feel like there's so much we could talk
For
about, like,
sure.
and also like we didn't even like touch on like twin flames or like, you know, all kinds of like spiritual relationship stuff, and so we're gonna have to do that because I promise you with Arden it will be a juicy conversation. Like I mean, you know, and this one was already like insanely juicy. So um before we hop off, is there like anything that you want to like leave people with today? And then I would love to have you share like where people can come and find you. And we'll link it all in the show notes, by the way.
Yeah, awesome. Yep. Well, the next round of the repatterning project begins September 7th, and it goes for 8 weeks. And I also teach a course in narrative magic and hypersigils called Myths and Magic. And I don't have the date for the next one, but it's probably going to be shortly after the repatterning project. And sometime in the fall, we'll start with that one. And beyond that, I have music that hopefully is going to come out before the end of the year. My band is Arden and the Wolves. And yeah, folks can find me on Facebook. I also have a Facebook group called the Repatterning Parlor for anyone who is like just wants to like poke around the work and hang out in the community. Like we have lots of graduates in there who are like super generous with like sharing their knowledge of the work as well. And yeah, I think, you know, you're gonna have all my socials there. So that's
Hmm.
probably about it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, all of that's amazing. Highly, recommend Arden and her work and like checking her out. I'm in her Facebook group. It's awesome. And she always
I
shares really
share your
valuable
posts
stuff.
there all the time. Thanks, baby.
Yeah, you're so sweet. And every time she does, I'm like, "Aw." But yeah, definitely go check her out. She will be linked everywhere. Go follow her, show her some love because like I've met a lot of people that do like really other kinds of like spiritual and relationship work and what like when I tell you that Arden is like one of like on just like honestly like I could count on one hand of people whose integrity and like embodiment like stands out like so much. I mean that so much. And I don't say that ever. And that's
Yeah.
one of the reasons why Arden has become a friend, you know, so highly recommend checking her out. She's definitely going to be back because this was so good. And thank you for like just being generous with your time and your energy and everything that you taught everybody listening and shared with us today. So I just want to thank you so much for that before we hop off.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you so much for inviting me. This was such a fun conversation.
Yeah.
I feel like we were just like, like hanging out at the bar again.
Yeah. Yep. Oh yeah.
Could do this all
Um,
day.
I know, same. Okay. Thank you guys. Let us know your thoughts on the episode.